I did hit it. I hit it again.
Oh, you hit it again. There you go.
China.
I can hear you. Better? I apologize, everyone. My internet dropped out.
That'll be fixed soon.
Steve, we got Joe on board with us.
Beautiful. Tom is okay at this time.
Okay.
Hey, Joe. I'm not sure if Wolfeboro Community TV is there or not, but
Yes, they are.
okay, perfect. So it is now 16:09. I'd like to call the October 15th meeting of the Wolfeboro Police Commission to order at this time, and we'll be reading the meeting preamble that's happened during the COVID-19 emergency. Good afternoon. As chairman of the Wolfeboro Police Commission, I am declaring that an emergency exists and that I am invoking the provision of RSA 1-A:2, paragraph 3B. Federal, state, and local officials have determined that gathering more people poses substantial risk to our community in its continuing efforts to combat the spread of COVID-19. I also find that this meeting is imperative to the continued operation of town government and services, which are public safety and confidence during this emergency. As such, this meeting will be conducted without a quorum of this body physically present at the same location. At this time, I also welcome members of the public accessing this meeting remotely. Even though this meeting is being conducted in a unique manner under unusual circumstances, rules of decorum apply. Any person disrupting this meeting will be asked to cease the disruption. Should disruptive behavior continue thereafter, that person will be removed from this meeting. Please note that all votes are taken shall be done by roll call vote. Let's start by taking a roll call attendance. When each member states their name, please state whether there is anyone in the room with you during this meeting, which is required under the right to know law.
Commissioner Balboni by himself.
Okay, Commissioner Balboni is by himself. Are you at home, I assume, Joe?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Commissioner O'Brien?
I'm in my residence and alone.
Okay, Chief Rondo?
I'm in my study alone, and there's no one else in my home.
Okay, Captain Livy?
Yeah, I'm upstairs in the upstairs room, and I'm by myself in this.
Okay, and I'm Chairman Wood, and I am home. Not alone, but I am in my office.
And I'm home.
Oh,
I'm
sorry.
Sherry.
Sherry, our executive assistant, is home alone. Okay, thank you, Sherry. It's on my screen. So.
Mark, smile, Mark.
Okay. At this time, I will entertain a consideration of the minutes for last month, September 17th, 2020.
So move.
Seconded.
Okay. Any discussion at all? Hearing none. Seeing none. The minutes of September 20th have been moved and seconded as written rather. I will now poll the commission. Commissioner Balboni,
Yes.
Commissioner O'Brien,
Yes.
and Commissioner Wood is a yes also. Thank you, gentlemen. Chief Rondo, if you'd like to go ahead with the monthly report.
Thank you, sir. I'll start off with the first slide in your slide deck, and that's incident cases year to date. So this month we had a 4.16% increase. We went from 48 to 50. Again, that's typical. That's not something that is unique, and that's what you usually see. If one month is low, the next is going to be high. If you look back on the slide that I've given you from January to September, it follows that pattern almost at anywhere between 4 to 10. So it's pretty standard. Of the 50 incidents that we've had this past month of September, we had 81 offenses. So what that means is that in some of these incidents, there's been multiple offenses. So more than one law has been broken. And you have, gentlemen, you have that the background data in your slide. Want to draw. The next slide, gentlemen, in your slide deck is arrests year to date. And you see that we had a 36 number of arrests in September 36, a little bit more than one a day for the month. That's an increase from last month of 71.42. And again, almost the same exact pattern is being followed. If you look at your slide from January through September, again, very difficult. If one month you have a lot of arrests, the next month you usually don't have as many, usually off by a factor of about 10% or so. And that's what this slide represents. Again, very typical. And as we get into the fall months, what's going to happen is you'll, and people ask this question a lot, hey, quiet time now, you're getting it. No, it's not. What happens is in the October, November, December, January, February, what's happening is all the cases that we've picked up from about April or May will be starting to come to fruition and be finished, and that will generate more arrest paperwork. So the activity is fairly, it's going to be fairly across the board. Typically, what we see is about 50 to 60 criminal incidents in a month, and you see anywhere between, say, 30 to 50 arrests each month. That's typically what we see. That's normal, even in a COVID-19 environment. So it is it's pretty standard. There's nothing here that's extraordinary. I point that out to everybody that's listening or going to watch this later on. Gentlemen, your status report. I did, Commissioner O'Brien, I did put the officer's reporting name in categories. So you can, that's something, yes, that's something that you gentlemen wanted. That was an easy fix, and it does make the report a lot easier to follow and read. So I appreciate you bringing that to my attention. Gentlemen, the next slide in your slide deck is going to be collisions year to date. Now, I'll tell you, I'm proud of the officers for the work they did. If you look on that slide, we've had a 58.82% decrease in traffic crashes. Now, interestingly enough, I was at the New Hampshire Police Academy today teaching with Staff Sergeant Maloney. We teach the 2-day block of instruction on technical crash reconstruction, also called the zero block for technical crash reconstruction. You get your first block at the Police Academy as part of the recruit package, and then the follow-on 4 blocks you get post academy after you graduate from the recruit class. One of the questions that came up was, why do we cite? Why do we write tickets? Right? Why do we do that? And when you specifically, why do we do that when we have a crash? And that was brought up by actually one of the young men from the state police, and it was a legitimate question. Now remember, these are recruits. And I said, well, when you're the chief of police, or when you're the colonel of the state police, or the sheriff of a county, one of the responsibilities you have is to correct bad behavior. And if you got drivers out there that are crashing into each other, cars typically don't do that. There's a reason why cars crash into each other. And it's because they don't do it all by themselves. That's an abnormal occurrence. When you have that, if you have clear indications of a motor vehicle infraction, one of the tools that you have to correct bad behavior is to use a traffic citation. And when we do that in connection to traffic crashes, it really does send a very strong message that, hey, your activity here was bad, your actions were bad, they caused the motor vehicle crash, and you're getting a summons. And it helps to correct bad behavior, bad driving, and people pay attention. And the reason I say that is because that is a method. It's not the only method we have, but that is a method. And if you look in the month of August, we had 17 motor vehicle crashes. In the month of September, we had 7, single digits, 58.824% reduction in motor vehicle crashes. That's great. That's good news. That's a good news story. I hope folks pick up on that. And what that speaks to is the fact that my officers, and you'll see in the next slide, the officers are out there doing what they're supposed to do. They're doing their job, and they're correcting and taking action on aberrant behavior behind the wheel. Very important.
Chief, I think you ought to tell the people, we're trying to educate the people. We don't like to give anybody.
That's correct, Joe. And that follows on to what I'm getting ready to move into on the next slide. If you go to traffic stops year to date in 2020, you'll see that in the month of August, we had 135. In the month of September, we had 197. So we increased 45.926%. So almost doubling, not quite doubling, but almost doubling the number of motor vehicle stops. Of that 197 motor vehicle stops, 18 tickets were given out. That is a 9.13% chance of getting a ticket, so less than 10%. So what that means is that essentially 90% of those people, or a little bit more than that, almost 91% of those folks received some form of education as to why their behavior was bad and received a warning. Now that's good. That's the other method that we have. So two methods. When we have traffic collisions and crashes, right, we have a chance at that time to either educate or to issue a punitive summons. And then the second method is heavy motor vehicle enforcement, like you see what we're doing, and issuing warnings and trying to educate the public and get them to slow down and understand what it is that they're doing wrong. So consistent with our community policing efforts and our education initiatives, we're still following that, but I'm very, very happy and very proud that we're able to drop the traffic crashes almost 60% from last month. That's actually really good, and I'm glad to see that, because I have said this before and I'll say it again. I remember back when I started here as a patrolman, that there were days literally I would not get a half a mile from the PD on South Main Street or North Main Street. I would be all day between North Main Street, South Main Street, and Center Street on traffic crashes. I would end the shift with 10 or 11 traffic crash reports to write. And gentlemen, I'll tell you right now, that is far too many. That is way too many. So I'm glad those days are behind us. I'm glad that we've taken the right approaches, and anytime that we can get traffic crashes in a month down to single digits, that's a score. That is a score, and I'm very happy about that, because it tells me that our traffic enforcement efforts, whether they're punitive or whether they're educational, they're working. They're working, and that's what it's indicative of.
I just find it interesting too that the number went down to 7 in September with the opening of school. You'd expect it to spike a little bit.
You would, and I was pleasantly surprised when I ran those numbers. And that is great. And I'll tell you, we have not. It has not been slow. The traffic density has been intense, and it's been busy. And I know, Joe, you see it on the road, because I know you're driving that big truck of yours all over the place, because I wave to you every time I see you. And I know you see it too. And we've been busy. We have been exceptionally busy, and it's not slowing down. It really is not slowing down. And if you look at something else, you're gonna have a lot of plates from New York, Pennsylvania,
You're right.
New York,
You're right.
Jersey, Connecticut,
Texas.
Maryland, Virginia. There's a lot of plates, and that tells me there's a lot of folks up here enjoying their second or third homes who have really no interest in going back to the major population centers that they came from. And I think we're in a new dynamic. It'll be interesting to see what happens with this going forward. Yes, Joe.
I have a question. What are we going to do about jaywalking? I mean, I see that this week alone, today's what, Thursday? I found 8 people, please use the cross. They either give me the finger or tell me to shut up or whatever. We got to do something about that.
What? I'm sorry. What was the issue?
Not using
Jaywalk.
Jaywalking.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, we've had, and I've been down there. we've had extra patrols in the downtown area. The only thing we can do with that is continue to educate and make stops and tell people. We can look at putting extra patrols down there, Joe. If it's still continuing, are you still seeing a problem?
Yes.
Okay. All right, I'll get with the captain and we'll figure out some
Even
sort
as of today, I'm speaking today. I've seen 4 young girls. Please use the crosswalk. They look and say, "Yeah, sure." Huh. They don't really care. Is it? I mean, who? Does the selectman put this up or what?
Did they? What do you mean? Did they?
The selectman. Do we have to go to selectmen to do this?
To do what,
No.
Joe?
Jaywalking.
No, that can be addressed through the PD.
No, yeah, we don't need to run anything. No, there's already an ordinance on the books for jaywalking.
Okay, I think we ought to put some signs out there. You jaywalk, you will be fine. End of story.
I'll take that as an action item, Joe, and I'll bring it to Dave Ford's attention. He's in charge of get some signs posted down there.
I mean, I go through in a big truck, and these idiots, I said, "Hey, use the crosswalk," and they, whatever they tell me, whatever. I said, "Please use the crosswalk. It's for your own safety." Yeah, sure, yeah. It's mostly girls, though. It's unbelievable.
Well, I think you're dealing with part of the culture, unfortunately.
Shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line, and I think that's the mentality.
Yeah.
It's not about, it's about convenience.
Yeah. Ease of convenience.
All right, gentlemen, moving forward, you have the background data on the motor vehicle stops and the summonses and the locations where they were issued if you have any further questions. The next slide in your slide deck I'll move to is the personnel analysis report for the month of September. And on it, you'll see all the officers and all the activity listed. So I'll give you a moment if you have any questions on that, but that's fairly straightforward. The only thing I would want to call to your attention is that just remember that some officers right now are working the midnight shift, which we know is dangerous, but not necessarily overly busy. So just keep that in the back of your mind that all the officers do rotate through that, and the officers that find themselves on that midnight shift oftentimes don't have a lot of activity to reflect. So moving on, gentlemen, to the next report will be the detective's report for the month of September. And what he has written here is that 10 cases were carried over from August for the month of September. Detective Emerson investigated 11 new cases. The cases below represent all the incident and arrests for the month of September for the detective. 4 cases were investigated as felonies and 7 cases were investigated as misdemeanor level offenses. At the end of September, Detective Emerson has 16 cases still under investigation. So that's a pretty heavy workload, gentlemen. Detective Emerson has been working an altered schedule to cover the patrol shifts and shift coverage for the department, and that has resulted in a significant increase in Detective Emerson's caseload. That's a true statement. So I will let the captain speak a little bit about that. But as you know, because we have officers that are at the academy or in the FTO, we're still running a little short-handed. So what we've done is move Detective Emerson to a patrol shift a couple of days, and of course that does have an impact on his ability to complete investigations. And I think we know that. The good news is that it's only temporary, and as soon as we get Joe Shanks completed with his FTO training, which should happen next week, he'll actually be certified and out on his own, and things will start to lighten up for the Wolfeboro PD, and Detective Emerson will be taken off that patrol shift duty and put back into detectives.
He actually ends his patrol, his FTO this Sunday. So starting next week, he's on his own. And then Detective Emerson will be back to his normal Monday.
Good.
So the Detective Emerson has picked up 1 fraud case, 1 animal cruelty investigation, 1 theft, 1 identity fraud, 1 near overdose, 2 motor vehicle related incidents, 1 drug diversion, a neighbor dispute, and 2 criminal mischief cases. Percentage of cases closed this month is 65%. Percentage of closed by arrest during this month is 9%. And then percentage of entire caseload closed out year to date is 67%. So that's actually pretty good. Also included in your packet, gentlemen, is Detective Emerson's written report from the month of August. If you remember correctly, he had gone on vacation, and I had belayed that report. If you, I'm not going to brief that report, but if you gentlemen have any questions about his report from the month of August, I'll be happy to address that by exception. You also have Detective Emerson's Excel slide that shows the percentage by month, year to date, of open and closed cases. If you gentlemen have any questions on that, I will address that by exception. For the SRO report, there is not one completed because school just began in mid-September, and this is for the reporting month of September. So we'll have a SRO report next month, and we'll include those few days from the month of September in it. As you gentlemen know, school is back in session. It started on or about the 15th of September, and it is a hybrid model, which means that the students are in school one day, the next day they're distance learning, and then a new group of students is in school. So at any one point in time, only half of the student body is at the high school. They're a total home online distance learning day, and then they pick it up again for Thursday and Friday. So that's the way the school system is working. Again, it's they're doing that to limit the any potential COVID-19 exposures. And so far, I think so far so good, as can be expected. Mr. Chairman, that completes my incident items in the slide deck. With your permission, I'll move into the chief's items.
Joe or Bob, any relative to their monthly reports?
Not from me.
Okay. Joe, you all set?
Yes, sir.
Okay, very good. Chief, if you would, please.
Okay, so we do have 2 items for non-public session under personnel. One is hiring. Actually, both are hiring. One for the PD and one for dispatch.
Thank you.
Budget items. As you gentlemen know, we presented our budget to the boss on 13 October. I thought the meeting went very well. I've received a couple of accolades from one of the selectmen. So our next hearing with the Board of Selectmen is scheduled on 28 October. That is going to be relative to a decision on the patrol cruiser. Obviously, we've been invited to that meeting and are expected to be there. I did send to not just the police commission, but to selectmen the Excel spreadsheet on the asset management plan, which I think is broken down in pretty good detail this year as opposed to last year. I did do the highlighted analysis for them in terms of what I thought made the most sense. We will be following that up with a set of PowerPoint slides in the coming days. And sometime next week, we'll get that out to not just the commission, but to the Board of Selectmen as well. And hopefully that will generate some discussion in our meeting, and we'll be able to come to some sort of discussion in terms of what they want to do and how they want to fund the purchase of a cruiser.
We want to, I'd like to offer I mean, I think they're going to be looking to us for perhaps what we might suggest as a way to approach the purchase of the cruiser this year.
I think absolutely correct. I think they are looking for some input from the Wolfeboro Commission.
My recommendation would be, and I'll share this with the other two, and with you, Chief, and with Captain. my recommendation would be that we do a warrant article asking the voters to approve the purchase of a new police cruiser at X amount of dollars. And also within that warrant article that monies from the detail revolving fund are utilized to defray that cruiser, similar to what we did last year. That would be my recommendation, but I'm open, obviously, to other suggestions or ideas.
Hey, I think Chief or the captain should talk about, well, we have a lot of problems with some of our cruisers, so, I mean, they think we have too many cruisers, so tell what's really going on these cruisers. Can you hear me?
Yeah, no, I think we'll be okay this year. It's not so much the board in the past that's had any issues with the number of cruisers as with the budget committee questioning that, the number. We all know that we're down on cruisers. We cannot be efficient as we currently are. We need to get back up to 11 where we had been. But I think for this year, for this cruiser, we should have a recommendation that we can share with the Board of Selectmen when we meet and give them our suggestion on how to go about purchasing a cruiser this year.
I think you're right. Putting it in a warrant article and using monies that are in the police special detail revolving account to defray the cost of that cruiser, I think is the way to go. It's the same thing that we've done for almost the last 3 years now. And I think it makes a lot of sense. And we put the vote right directly to the citizens. Absent a warrant article using monies from the police special detail revolving account, I think we just put it in a warrant article and we put it out to the citizens at the full, whatever the full cost is. I just don't know. I haven't been able to see a revenue report.
Right.
I don't know how much money is in that special detail revolving fund. And unfortunately, the town has been without a finance officer for several months now. So I know that the town manager is working on trying to get some fidelity on what that amount of money may be and how much money that we can slide over to help defray the cost of the cruiser. But that seems to be a proven method and technique, and it seems to be one that the voters like. Overwhelmingly, they vote in support of that. I see no reason to change it now.
Do you want a motion, Steve?
I guess what we could do is I could ask for motion. We'll vote on it, and then I'll ask Sherry to do a letter on letterhead that I can sign. We can either send in advance of our meeting, or we can just hand deliver it, before the meeting, so to speak.
I would that we adopt that procedure as you recommended.
Okay, so we have a movement to the Board of Selectmen that that the
Created as a warrant.
cruiser be entered or placed into a warrant article for the review of our citizens, with the other instruction that any available monies from police revolving special detail are used to defray the cost of that cruiser. That's, as I understand it, Commissioner O'Brien. Okay, do we have
Yes. Yes.
Joe, do we have a second on that?
Yes, sir. Second.
So I'll poll the commission. All in favor, Commissioner O'Brien,
Yes.
Commissioner Balboni,
Yes.
and Commissioner Wood is a yes also. So we will, Sherry, if you're with us, if you could just make a note of that, and we
Yep.
can get a letter drafted on that and get that to town hall in advance of the meeting. I would probably be best.
Sure.
Thank you so much.
Steve, to
Go ahead,
answer, yeah, to
I'm sorry.
answer Joe, not to interrupt, but to answer Joe's question there, to give the public an understanding of our cruisers that we have on site, and mileage and what's going on with them right now. So we have 8 that are on site. right now. The new cruiser that we purchased back in April, we just picked that up about a week and a half ago. So that went down to two-way to get all the upfitting. I'm still waiting to see how long that's going to take. That could be another 2, possibly 3 weeks before we get that back up into Wolfeboro. So it's out on patrol. But for mileage purposes, so they get a better understanding why we need these cruisers, is that you have the Chief's cruiser that's about 123,000 plus. My cruiser that's 101,000 plus. The new one that just came last year, it's probably got about 2,000 to 3,000 on it now. The other patrol cars, 6, 7, and 9, they're all in the 80,000 range of mileage right now. So they're just hitting their 3-year mark or 4-year mark on those. In the K9 car, which has just about 70,000. And then our last one, which makes 8, is the detective car, which is about 111,000 that's out there.
And that's only speaking to mileage. That's not speaking to engine hours.
Yeah, that's not idling. That's a whole different ballgame.
Yeah.
Yes.
Talking about idling, and it's one thing. Mileage and island. The car is island. That's one thing. Mileage is something else.
Right.
Yeah. So the nice part, the interesting part that we got going on is the new one that does come. It's a hybrid model. So that will be our first hybrid model in the police interceptor. So that'll be exciting to see how that goes. And our new one that we're asking for is going to be a hybrid, because that's the way we're going now with the cruisers.
Sounds good.
One thing I'd like to add to the captain's report, which is spot on and accurate, the issue that we're running into with 8 cruisers or 7 cruisers or even 9 or 10 cruisers is that the vehicles are right now, they're not getting a break. They've been running this way for the last almost 3 years, because we have been getting rid of cruisers. If you remember correctly, last year we got rid of 3 cruisers. This year we got rid of our last Crown Vic that went out. And the reason those vehicles have gone out of service is mechanically they're very sound, right? That's not the issue. We get great maintenance support from the town yards. Absolutely phenomenal support. It's the undercarriage is rusting out. Okay, so it happens when the vehicles hit right around 120,000 or 10 years, right? Whichever happens first. That seems to be the magic number in terms of mileage. And what we're seeing right now is when we have these vehicles running around the clock like they are, and they're not getting a break, they're being run day in and day out, 24 hours a day. They're not getting a break. They're running right around the clock. The mileage is really racking up on them. We're putting anywhere between 20 to 30,000 miles a year on the vehicles that are in the patrol section, not the captain's vehicle or the detective vehicle or my vehicle, but the hardcore vehicles that do a vast majority of the patrolling. They're seeing a lot of usage. So all we're doing is we're hastening their demise. Okay, if we could spread the mileage out over the fleet, we would lower the operational cost of the fleet, and we would be able to get on a replacement cycle, which is fairly standard, and we'd be able to keep the vehicles in the fleet longer, meaning we'd be able to keep them for about 10 years, have enough vehicles to have the flexibility that we need to have to respond to calls for service and crimes and other things that happen. Earlier this year, we had 2 attempted homicides, and the captain could not get to the crime scene because there were no vehicles available. They were all in service. Things like this don't happen often, but they do happen. And with a limited fleet like we have right now, these problems are happening, and we don't want them to happen. It's bad. It's bad when I have resources at the PD that I can't get to a crime scene. That's really not a good model. We need to get the fleet back up to 11, as you said, Mr. Chairman. And since we're briefing the public on, what the need is, this is the need. If we don't get on a replacement cycle, we're going to get to a point where we're going to have to replace 3, 4, 5 vehicles all at the same time. And we don't want to do that. That is not a good model. That is not a good model.
I think we also have to be mindful, Chief, too, or we have to share with the public that, you know, when the cruiser that we just received was approved by the voters in March of this year, it was ordered right away.
It was ordered a day or two after the town vote.
Right. So, Captain, when did that touch down at Rochester Ford?
It's got to be like a week and a half now, or you think, Chief, when we went down there?
Yeah, about a week and a half ago, and it takes almost a good 30 days for it to be upfitted, as the captain has said. So what is that? That's the
9 months.
Lights, putting in all the infrastructure for the cruiser, getting the graphics on it, putting in the cage, putting in all the police accoutrements that we need to do the job. So we're running right around 9 to 10 months from the moment we order a cruiser to the time that it will come in fully outfitted, ready for service.
Right. And that's the problem too, is, you know, you're still down a cruiser. You know, right now we're down as it is, and we're going to be waiting a significant period of time to bring that number up each year. And then if something happens, if there's a catastrophic failure of a cruiser, you know, then we're down again. So it's just something that I think we need the public to be aware of. It's not that we can just go down to the car dealer and pick up a new cruiser. It has to be ordered, and once received, then it can be upfitted. It's a lengthy process.
Yep.
So moving on, Mr. Chairman, if you're done under personnel, as you know, Officer Shanks is coming off of his final week of FTO. It's been a long time, and he'll be out on his own soon, but he'll be under supervision. Officer Peasley is in the first quarter of the police academy, and I was down there today. He's fitting right in, and he's doing very well. And we have extended an offer to a candidate, a very capable young man, for our remaining full-time slot. We'll be dealing with that tonight with you gentlemen in non-public. And we are, so we have heard back from him since the writing of this report. We've heard back from him, and we'll continue to keep the commission informed. But I am going to need a couple of decisions tonight relative to hiring in non-public from the police commission. Operations under criminal investigations and prosecutions. In terms of police investigations, September remained a busy month for investigations and follow-up on major cases. This is reflected in the arrest and incident status reports and also included in the 2 detective reports. I will brief the commission by exception if you gentlemen have any questions. And as you know, 2 days ago, we did make an arrest on an alleged bank robber. And that was nicely done by our team on hand at the time, which included the captain, Staff Sergeant Maloney, Detective Emerson, and Officer Mary Swift. So that was well done. Able to clean up a series of bank robberies that had occurred in Rochester. And I know Rochester PD was very grateful for that. And the county attorney now has the case in her very capable hands, and more to follow on that. I don't know if this case will go federal or not. It may. I just don't know at this point. But I think that we did a very nice job in that, and I'm glad that we were able to wrap that up so quickly. In terms of police prosecutions this past month, it was slow due to COVID-19 restrictions. This past month, we had 12 criminal charges. Of those charges, 6 were found or pled guilty, 6 were placed on file, restitution to the victims. The conviction rate this past month is 100%, with $3,118.00 meted out in fines, restitution, and penalties. If Chief Case were here, he would say crime doesn't pay. Safety and security matters, as reported from last month. I thought this advice worthy of mentioning again, ladies and gentlemen. Fall is now upon us, and with that, we take time to enjoy the cooler, crisp air and all the goodness that autumn brings. With that, please be mindful of the school children who are now trying to get in the last few vestiges of the warm summer temps and early fall colors, and who have returned back to school and will be walking and biking to and fro these last few months before winter arrives. Please be mindful and drive slowly in town in our neighborhoods. Thank you very much. Dispatch, I really have nothing significant to report. Under motor vehicle enforcement, in an effort to mitigate the traffic crashes we realize monthly, we will be continuing our strong and proactive approach to motor vehicle enforcement and traffic stops. As a warning to those residents in the North Wolfeboro area, I've received complaints about speeders on College Road and started roads, and we will be conducting and still are conducting aggressive speed reduction patrols in those areas of town. So please, if you are in the habit of speeding up there, don't. Lastly, we continue to deploy assets and patrols into our identified problem areas. Safety first. More to the point, as I have said before, speed and traffic issues continue to be our major quality of life problem in the community. Please pay attention to the posted speed limits on our town roads and please drive safely. Speed complaints represent some of the most common quality of life issues we receive. Please be courteous of your friends and neighbors and don't speed. We will be monitoring our roads very carefully, especially on our high traffic roads, such as North-South Main Street, Center Street, and 109 East. If you speed, please slow down. The life you save may be your own. Thank you very much. With that being said, the department is continuing its enhanced speed enforcement operations in the following areas: Lena Street, Forest Road, Cotton Valley, and College Road, Started Road, Beach Pond Road with a focus on the area between Pine Hill Road and North Line Road, Center Street, North Main Street, 109 East, Bay Street, and Sewell Road. The reason for these speed enforcement operations is due to citizen complaints and data collected and analyzed by our radar trailer. We will continue our efforts in these areas until we are sure that these speeds have come down. If you travel these roads, please be mindful of the posted speed limits. Somebody's got the Westminster chime going.
That's mine.
Under training, Staff Sergeant Maloney and Sergeant Strock attended tactical consideration for the supervisor course. Sergeant Mike Strock attended K-9 training and conducted his yearly certifications. So we're glad that that's been done, and Riggs is certified for another year now. So myself and my able-bodied executive assistant, Sherry Moore, have completed our first two classes on finance and accounting through the New Hampshire Municipal Association. I just want to talk a little bit about this. Sherry, in an effort to get in some quality training last year, had done a deep dive to some areas that she thought would be very beneficial. And she came up with, this was really her thing. She came up with this and she briefed it to me, and it sounded really good. So in fact, it sounded so good. I said, yes, you sign us up for the two of us, you and I, much to her chagrin. Yes, you're going to have to attend me. The training is really exceptional. And I've been very impressed with it. I'm very happy. I've learned a lot. I know Sherry, who has already had some of this training or training very much similar to it, is probably not getting as much out of it as I am, but I think is still getting a lot of training. Sherry, is that true? That you're developing some good knowledge and
definitely a better understanding about municipal finance and budgets, which is the whole reason why I wanted to do it. So
yeah, so I
thank you for joining me.
Yo, you. But it was really, I want to give her credit. It was really, it's good training. It really is. I'm very impressed with it, and it's a 10-month course, right? It's 10 months, and there's a number of courses each month, and at the end we're issued a certificate. So I'm going to be interested to see what that. I don't think it's a completion certificate. I think it's actually a maybe an undergrad certificate of some flavor from one of the colleges, but we'll see. But I know we get a certificate in municipal finance and accounting, and it's an area that I admittedly haven't had a lot of training, so I'm really getting a lot of benefit from it. So I think that's good. So I completed 2 of those courses this past month, and we got another one coming up here in November. So on matters of outreach and interest, both the captain and I met with concerned citizens regarding a wide range of issues and community topics. I am now conducting a weekly radio talk show with Eric Scott of WASR. The show is a 1-hour feature with call-in, and we discuss relevant topics of interest. Please be our guest on this show each Monday at 12 noon. Please call in and ask your questions and join the discussion. Let's get involved and solve community issues, or simply have a good time discussing relevant topics. All are welcome. Both the captain and I attended a wide range of budget meetings of various groups and committees as we proceed through the budget process. And along with that, I'm letting the commission know that we conducted our first public safety building meeting. The committee has been formed and appointed by the Board of Selectmen. It was chaired by Selectman O'Brien. I thought it was an excellent first meeting. I think we got a lot of things done and a lot of decisions were made. And it seems like that effort is now moving in the right direction, at least right now. We have another meeting Tuesday at 10 a.m. and I will continue to keep the commission informed. But so far so good, and I like the way the committee is going. Both the captain and I spoke on Wolfeboro Community TV this past month, and the captain continues to be a participant in the master planning process and the technical review and joint loss committees, and I know he looks forward to those meetings with great delight. Facetious. Lastly, please be our guest on Coffee and Connections with the Chief. So budget analysis. There will be a third quarter budget analysis for the PD next month. It isn't going to be this month, gentlemen. I think we just have too much to do. We'll do it next month, and I will catch the commission up on where we're at. I do want to let the commission know that myself, Sherry, and the captain have done a budget review of the fiscal year 19 budget, and I think we're doing well. I will let you know that I think that we're burning a lot of overtime, but we knew that was going to happen. I've been briefing that for the last couple of months now, and that is a reflection of the fact that we have one officer in FTO, another officer at the police academy, and we're still covering shifts. The good news is, now that Officer Shanks is about ready to come out of the FTO program, that will start to slow down and will slow that burn rate of money down. I think we will end the year in the black. I'm not in, knock on wood, not seeing any major or not adhering to any major financial disruptions that occur or incidents that require vast sums of money to fix, like a windstorm that knocks down the antennas again or something along those lines. We should be fine. I'm not anticipating any major unforecasted financial difficulties. We won't be, I think, as healthy in the black as we have been in the past, but at least we'll be ending the year in the black. Gentlemen, subject to your questions, that's really all I have, and I'll turn it over to you, Mr. Chairman.
Steve, I just got one thing to correct in that. So with that incident at the bank, I know he mentioned some names and officers, and instead of Sergeant Maloney being there because he was off, it was Sergeant Spera who was leading that. And until I got there, he did an excellent job. I just want to make sure credit's due where credit is. Credit is.
Thank you,
Bob, do you have anything? Any questions? Any comments?
No, I'm good. Set.
Joe Balboni, I'm good.
I think we may have lost Steve.
Yeah, it looks like he's frozen.
It is frozen. Matzo ball. It looks like a matzo ball. Steve. You speak English, Steve. Steve, boom, boom, boom.
Do we want to go into non-public pretty soon?
Yeah, why don't we, Mr. Vice Chairman, why don't you make
Yeah.
that motion? Still have a quorum.
I-
What
I
we'll do
move
is
that we end the public session and move into non-public session as per our agenda.
So moved.
catch Steve up.
Sounds good.
All right.
Gentlemen, Tom Bell's going to sign off.
Okay, Tom. Thank you.
Tom, do you have any questions at all?
No, as we talked before yesterday, I guess it was, I'll wait for the PowerPoint and maybe get together. I don't think the budget meeting is going to be until November, so you'll be meeting with the selectmen first, from what I understand, and then we'll get our turn at the bat.
Roger that, Tom, and just as an FYI, we've already met with the selectmen on the 13th
Right.
of October, and that meeting went very well. We have a follow-up meeting, I think, just to make a decision on how they want to fund the cruiser, and
Right.
we'll be heading to the budget committee.
Okay, very good. All right, gentlemen, have a good evening.
You too, Tom. Thank
Bye.